How good is rugby? How awesome is this year's Six Nations tournament? It's shaping up to be, I don't want to tempt fate, but it's shaping up to be the best ever. Certainly best in a long time. There was that one tournament, what was it, 2017, where it had the bonkers Super Saturday. That was pretty special. But the rugby that we're seeing this year is absolutely exceptional. And the game in Paris was no different. And spoiler alert, in 3, 2, 1, it was a win for France. Scotland absolutely played their part. Although I'm saying that already, and this is what I think is most positive for Scotland. Is I've just started to do the old Scotland are gallant losers thing. Oh, they played their part in a great game, weren't they brave? Didn't they do well? And actually, I think what's really encouraging for Scotland is that's rubbish. They're a legit rugby team that should feel disappointed that they didn't beat France today. And they'll look back and I think they'll be frustrated at what might have been. And that says everything about where Scotland are at. These Scotland gallant losers, they made up the numbers and played their part, and didn't they? Didn't they try really hard? No, not anymore. This is a legit rugby team, and they were great. France were very, very good, especially in that first 15 minutes. And well, I was going to say they almost blew Scotland. They kind of did blow Scotland away, and it says a lot about the resolve of Scotland that they managed to pull themselves back into the game, because I think France were 19 points up at one point. Yeah, this Six Nations is so fun. These two teams play rugby in such a great way. And it was a really, really enjoyable 80 minutes in Paris. Frustrating if you're a Scotland fan. And like I say, I think you'll look back and think what might have been. Those first 15 minutes, let's just be honest, Scotland were not good enough in those opening exchanges. France were very good, and they brought their A game, which was important for France because they were under a lot of pressure. Scotland were going still with the potential of a championship and Grand Slam. But France, in front of an expectant home crowd, having their 14-game winning streak come to an end against Ireland, there would have been some jitters, which is why Scotland had to start well. And it's why France would have been targeting the very start to banish any nerves. And they showed that they are a class team. The fact that Fabien Galtier made hardly any changes, only one change that was enforced at tight head prop, spoke to the confidence he had in his players. And they certainly played like a team with a lot of confidence. They got the crowd behind them early. There was the try for, was it Untabak? And that kind of set the tone. Then we had the first of the 2 red cards. And we could talk about those red cards. They were both red cards, weren't they? There's no complaint there. The ref was going to give a yellow to Mohamed Hawass until, was it Carl Dixon, the TMO, got involved and sort of set him right. But you got to say fair play to the ref for at least listening to what he was being told and making the right decision, which it was. It was a red card. Grant Gilchrist as well. And if it doesn't sound weird, I'm glad that Mohamed Hawass got a red card. I mean, I'd rather have had no red cards. But I think had it been 14 for Scotland against 15 for France, that would have been an easy way to tell the story of the game. Oh, Scotland were good, but they had a man down, so we'll never know what might have been. No, it was 14 on 14, so we got a really good sense of where these teams are at. And yeah, it was a red for Hawass. It was a red for Gilchrist. They'll be frustrated. I wonder if they'll probably the 2 most frustrated people in the stadium today would have been Gregory Aldrit and Hamish Watson. Spare a thought for anyone who had those 2 in their fantasy rugby team, because they were the sacrificial lambs after the red cards. And a shame for Hamish Watson particularly, because, well, we were so excited about him coming back, and then it lasted, 8 minutes? And yeah, Gregory Aldrit, who's been removed after 50 minutes in both of the games so far this tournament, and now he only got 10 minutes in today. He looked like he didn't look like the Gregory Aldrit of a couple of years ago, did he? He's probably got more rest today than he's done in the entire season playing for Ronan O'Gara at La Rochelle. Yeah, he does look a bit tired, perhaps. I'll tell you what it was. So France won the game with really good play. The power game came to the fore in those opening exchanges. Scotland were a little bit asleep, and they need to sort that out because their World Cup pool, you can't have an off 10 minutes against these teams. You're going to be done. And Scotland will be coming home. So they can take that as a lesson to learn. But here's where I think the game was won. France were... do you know what? There's no other way to... They were cynical in their own 22. In fact, the way you can summarise the game, France was cynical in their own 22, and they were clinical in Scotland's 22. Yes, they scored the tries when they were on, and we saw Scotland had plenty of chances. They'll be kicking themselves. Xander Fagerson just had to put the ball down. They had other opportunities that they messed up, and Scotland will be ruining those tonight. But France, in their own 22, gave away some penalties. I was surprised they didn't get a yellow card to go along with a red. I think Gregor Townsend even mentioned that in his post-match interview, and I'm totally with him on that. I was surprised. But that also, you've got to actually respect that from France. They knew how to cheat, when to cheat, and just how far to push it so that they got away without the try, but managed to keep 14 players on the pitch, which I thought they were fortunate to do. But it's a bit like Richie McCaw back in the day. People used to talk about his cloak of invisibility. And that was just actually Richie McCaw had the smartest rugby brain on the pitch, and he knew what to do and when to do it and how to get away with it. And we saw that from France. And I think it's a sign of a good team. The fact that they kept 14 and didn't go down to 13 on the pitch, but managed to snuff out Scotland's opportunities when they had them. It was a weird, brilliant, bonkers, breathless first half. So much fun. And then really tense in the second half. And again, a lot of games we've had in this competition, haven't we? It's been in the balance until the end. We had it with Ireland. They pulled away from Italy in the end, towards the end yesterday. We had England only just pulled away from Wales. Ireland last week against France. It was only in the 74th, 5th minute that Gary Ringrose scored that try, which put the result beyond doubt. And there's a lot of that at the minute. And I think that's because a lot of teams are managed to stay in the fight, and Scotland are one of those teams that they're never out of it. And that's partly because they've got the ambition and the invention and the talent to actually score. And to suddenly, they got the 2 tries, was it? And managed to get themselves right back in the game. And it was the Hugh Jones second try and Finn Russell's try as well. And Finn Russell, this is his team now, 100%. It's been his team for a while, but this is by design. There was some rumours, and I think I mentioned this on a previous video, that apparently when there was that England, the comeback at Twickenham a few years ago, where basically Finn Russell said, right, second half, we're doing it my way. Well, it feels like even Gregor Townsend now is saying, we're doing it Finn's way. And I think that shows a level of humility from Gregor Townsend, that he's actually maybe identified where he might have got it wrong in the past, and he's throwing the shackles off and just handing the team to Finn Russell, who is loving it. Scotland are loving it. I'm loving it. Neutral rugby fans everywhere are absolutely loving it. And what a player. And he's got he's bringing the best out of the guys around him. But I think there's an element where they're bringing the best out of him as well. That Huey Pilotu centre pairing, it is chef's kiss. Absolutely love it. They're so good. Only bettered today by Gaël Fickou on the French team, who is just awesome. So I absolutely love this game. What else can I say about it? Lessons to learn. Lessons for Scotland to learn. That World Cup pool that they're in. I mean, Wales should feel very, very relieved that the World Cup pools aren't drawn now, because they would be in a world of pain. Scotland, because they weren't nearly as good 3 years ago, are in a world of pain right now, because they know they've got to play, South Africa and Ireland in their World Cup pool. They could well not make a quarter-final. Equally, if they learn the lessons, like be clinical and don't have an off 10 minutes in a game, then they could well send one of the favourites for the World Cup packing. And they've got that in their locker. There is absolutely no doubt. France look massive. That's another thing I've just written down. France are huge. That's even without Owini Atonio. They are absolutely massive, and their power game was immense today. They love the spider cam as well, don't they? I've got a bit of motion sickness watching that game at times. But overall, absolutely loved it. This year's Six Nations is so much fun. I was watching Scotland and thinking what could be with England in the future, because I want to watch a team that play with that kind of freedom and confidence. And that doesn't just happen overnight. That takes time, and it takes combinations bedding in. Scotland are in a really good place. And I absolutely love the game. Well done to them. That's round 3 of the Six Nations done. I've got a bunch of videos coming. I've got a few interesting ones planned this week I think you'll like, including a real wrap-up of where we're at with Rich, the rugby analyst. So keep an eye on that on the channel. And for that reason, and if you enjoy the content, hit subscribe, hit like, share, leave your comments, and I will see you on the next video.